Happy Children's Day, guys. Actually, backstory. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and she said her kids asked her that, how come there's Mother's Day and there's Father's Day and there's no Children's Day? She said, when me, I grew up, we had Children's Day. Oh. I thought it was an international thing. Apart, nobody talks about Children's Day here. So, I have decided that I'm going to make a video in honor of Children's Day, which is just passed by the time this video is posted. Hi, my name is Fumilola, a mom of two, double board certified pharmacist, and a wife. I'm on a self journey, discovering myself, and it is my hope that I can impact at least one person to get on a journey of their own as well. So today, in honor of Children's Day, as per where I grew up in Nigeria, I want to talk about raising kids and some of the lessons that I picked from my parents. I realized that a lot of us are very judgy towards our parents' generation about how they raised us. Like I always tell my friends, our children are going to judge us too. There's no way about it because by the time they grow up, they'll have all this new fancy, oh, they should have done this and they should have done that and they should have been like this. They should have been more sensitive to our emotions or even less sensitive, depending on where the wind is blowing at the time. So I sat and I thought about how some of the things that my parents did. I will be talking about my parents because when we were growing up, the way that we were raised, we thought it was the general for everyone. Guys, I grew up and realized that every other market day, giving award to my parents. Be mommy, daddy, thanks so much. Shegoni, I'm so grateful for your upbringing. Because no. We were raised properly. And the more that I mix with humans of the world, the more that I realized that, oh my God, we were raised properly. And they did the best in their power to raise us the best way possible that they knew. And I'm thankful to God that it was a good raising. So today I will be picking seven. I think I have 7 lessons that I picked from my parents in the way that they raised me that I am trying to inculcate in the way that I'm raising my kids, And I would also talk about a few things that I am tweaking or adjusting that I thought my parents could have done better that I will be trying with my children. So help me God. Let's get into it, guys. So to make this to make this a gisting and not just a lecture, I will be trying to interject tiny stories about when I was growing up on these lessons. So my first lesson would be, this lesson would be about listening to your kids. Okay. When we were growing up, I remember that if anyone came and told my mom that, I, as a parent now, I understand how much control it must have taken her to to be calm, But mom would come and ask that, what happened so and so and so, right? Before she decided that she wanted to pass judgment. And that used to happen with her. We have a very dynamic family situation, right? So it was easy for people to think that they could just jump in and sow seeds of discord. But Momsy would ask, like, what happened? Tell me what happened, blah, blah. I thought this was a normal thing until I grew up and realized that there were people's parents who just took the words of outsiders over their kids and just immediately started to mete out justice to their children. So this is one thing that I am really trying with my kids. In fact, I tell my son every day that honesty is our most important currency in this house, because if someone tells me you do something, I want to be able to come back to you and ask you what happened and believe exactly what you tell me. I don't want to go outside and be blindsided by information that you kept from me or that you lied about. So my kids know that more than whatever you've done, the cover up is always the worst crime. When you do something, you tell me the truth. You tell me. I will fight for you. I will defend you. Now we can get home and I would tell you off for that thing that you have done. But I want my kids to know that I have their back all the time. It's important that when they go outside, and this has helped me as an adult because I know that no matter what I do outside, my dad used to say when we're getting married that nobody's chasing you away from your father's house. Like, this is always home. And that has been something that has really helped me. So that's something I'm trying with my kids and still help me God. It's really hard because sometimes children can embarrass you. But so far so good. They've been really good. They understand that, we don't lie. We try to tell the truth as much as possible. It's more important than whatever fear of punishment that you're after. Another lesson, another backstory. This story, I think I've told it to all my friends that anybody who knows me already knows this story. So while we were growing up, I started dating my husband maybe at 18 or 19, something like that. And, he used to come around the house, everything. I remember my mom had this friend who'd be like, boyfriend, that's too early. And I'm grateful to my mom again that she allowed the Holy Spirit to talk to her. I'm sure she must have prayed and, talk to God about it and all. And so Momsy didn't try to separate Mr. A and I. She just, talked to me, la la la. And then of course we got married about 10 years after that. Now, this person who was telling my mom all this, her child got married at 23 or 24. And at the wedding, they were talking about how she'd been dating her husband for 7 years. I promise you guys I was burnt. I mean, I was happy for the child to get, like, I was happy for her to get married and all that. But I was just like, wow, imagine my mom had listened. So my point from this story is pray and intercede for your children. People may give you advice that they think is in your best interest at the time that they're giving it to you, but it's not necessarily advice that they will take by themselves, because when a matter becomes personal, people tend to view it in other dimensions than when they're giving you counsel. So when people counsel me about my children, I take it, I think about it. I don't immediately implement it. I think about it. I wonder, okay, how is this going to affect my child? I pray about it. I pray about it. I ask God to please give me direction about my children and to do what is best for them, not what other people think is best for them. Which, I mean, guys, this story that I just told the people, it burnt me. Like, so yeah, that's another point. Another thing that I learned from my parents is bantering with your children. This one is particularly my dad, right? And anybody who sees my dad and I gisting, I always make jokes that my dad and I grew up together, right? That when I was growing up, when I go to visit my friends, I would sit in the living room and gist with their dads, even when they're avoiding their fathers. But you see, the thing that I realized is my father didn't scare me. He didn't put that fear that men think that they need to rule their children. He didn't do that to me. So nobody's father scares me. In fact, as I was growing, I remember one day mom said, "You will bury any translation. You don't fear anybody. You should." And I don't think that that was it, because I respect my dad deeply. Like, I would, till now, I am often very afraid of disappointing my father more than upsetting him, right? Because those were the conversations that we had. We would sit down, we would banter, we would throw jokes around. Like, if you see my dad and I just, you know that, So the banter there and all that. But it doesn't mean that there will be disrespect or that, so half of the time when I was in school, my problem wasn't my dad is going to be angry. My problem was if my dad and I sat down and had a conversation about this, would he be disappointed? So I'll insert a small story about bantering and how my dad used to use conversations to get into the head of his children. As an adult now, I get what he was doing. As a child, I didn't understand it. I just knew that my dad and I used to sit down and just. So I remember when I was I think this was just two. I'm sure my friends all know the story. I have just told everyone the story that I know. And my dad sat me down. He was gonna have the boyfriend talk with me, right? So he sat me down and he was like, when a boy and a girl, like each other sometimes, da da da. And then he goes on to say, so if you do get pregnant, I love you and I would never abandon you because I love you. See what he was doing? And I said, but it would be half hard for him to take care of me and the baby. So I would have to do a little bit of work. And so he would take me to the marketplace. I don't even know if he remembers this conversation. And so he would take me to the marketplace and I would pick a spot where I'll be able to sell some pepper and some tomatoes to be able to scatter the child. Guys, I was PTSD kept me on pregnant until I was an adult. I didn't used to hug boys in secondary school. Like, no matter how much I liked the boy, hug ke. Please, I'm not doing that. I'm not about that pepper and tomato life. Please, I want to be a baby girl. So yeah, bantering and talking to your children and being able to have those conversations with them is another thing that I'm trying with my kids, and I'm praying that God gives me the strength to. So, like, it's really hard as a parent when you have gone, you want to hustle everything, and then your children want to gist with you. And you know that at this age that they're in, the gist they are gisting you, it's not just that you're interested in. But I sit there and I listen to them and we do bounce back and forth because I want them to be able to talk to me when it is time for the gist I actually want to listen to, right? So my kids are 8 and 4. Oh, they'll be 9 and 5 soon. Okay. So yeah, that's another thing. Bantering with my kids. Another thing that I am trying is family meetings. So, just for context, when I was growing up, even till now, we still have those family meetings as well. Everyone is in I'm married, my sister's married, my brother's, done with school, the other one is still in school. But my dad still finds time to let us have those family meetings, not as frequent as before. Previously, we used to do it like 2, 3 times a year. So what would happen is my dad would sit us down and ask us, okay, so this year, how was our year? um what are the things that we felt like didn't go well this year? How did we perform as parents? How do you think we can perform better? What are your plans and your goals for next year? And we used to talk about those things, and it made us feel like we were in control of our lives, right? It made us feel like our parents were not the ones ruling over us, right? It made us feel like a democracy, basically. So this is something that I'm trying with my kids. Mr. A and I have been having family meetings from the year that we got married. I mean, so technically, I think we've had our 11th AGM, even though this is 10th year of marriage. And we have started including the kids. We've been including them the whole time, but usually they just sleep off during the meetings. But now they talk. And last time, my daughter who was 4 was like, "Oh, I like that daddy plays with me, and I like when mommy takes care of me," and it's really nice to see the children feel included. And this is something that I hope that I will be able to continue to do. Right now, we're doing once a year. As the kids grow older, we'll try for twice a year or 3 times a year, even, just to be able to get into it more. So we're talking about things like, oh, so what do you want to do this year? What are the things that you hope to do better? And my son was saying things like, oh, I want to learn how to read my Bible more. I was like, oh my God, I'm training a Christian child. I love it. Okay. So yeah, that's one thing that my dad did for us. In fact, side story. One day I was watching a TED talk and somebody was, talking about how they should host family meetings. It's how to that. And my mom sent it to the group and she was like, "That's kudos to my husband for being ahead of his time." And my was telling us, "Oh, my daddy." Okay, so yeah, that's another thing. Another point would be modeling good behavior for my children. Now, as a child, I didn't realize how important this was to do as I do, not do as I say. Because my parents were do as I do people. My mom, Christian, acts Christian. You know, she doesn't lie. She doesn't, all these things that make people hate church. Like, oh, when I was growing up, my folks are Christians, but they are so mean. If that's what Christianity is about, I don't want to be. No, 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 no. And now, as a parent, I see how important that is, right? I see that I watch some people and their kids, and I watch how they tell those children to tell the truth, blah, blah, blah. But right in front of your kids, you're telling lies, or maybe you said something about your friend at home before, then you come out and say it differently, and your child is watching you. And I watch how that affects those children and how they also now have like eye service, right? Like to be nice and to be kind in front of people, but their back not really like them or be mean at their back and all that. So that's another thing that I am modeling for my kids. I want them to see, walk the talk. So if I say tell the truth, we tell the truth. If I say this is what we're doing, that's what we're doing. I try to keep to my it is so important to me that if I promise my son is spanking, guys, he will get it. So before and this is something that I have also passed across to my husband. So usually when the kids are doing something and he wants to maybe threaten him, I tell him, I say, follow through. Don't promise what you will not do. Same on the other side. If a child does something good and you want to promise an incentive, you have to follow through. So I'm teaching my kids the value of integrity, the value of walking the Christian talk, the value of making sure that what we say is what we do. We don't present as one thing outside and behave as another thing inside the house. Yeah, that's something that my parents taught me. They walk the talk. Okay. Another thing that I picked up from my parents, which as a parent, I'm just realizing how difficult what I'm about to say is morning prayer. How did our parents do that thing? Morning devotion unaltered, morning after morning. Oh God, guys. So we recently started doing morning devotions at home. We try to do at least 5 days a week. Weekends I'd be iffy. Sunday we'll go to church, so that one is out. Mondays to Fridays, any day is a public holiday and the schedule is scattered. Morning devotion may almost not happen, but we try, you know. So that's one thing that I am really trying for, and I'm praying that God gives me the strength to continue to do morning devotion with my kids. I find that it is nice and helpful to them to feel the togetherness, to feel covered in prayer, to feel connected to God. And then we sing one or two morning devotion songs. I'm teaching them all those in the morning, old school early morning devotion songs. And then I am also trying to make sure that we go to church every Sunday. We haven't started doing midweek service baby steps, guys, baby steps. You know, when we lived in Nigeria, church was something that you would go to, but here it's so hard to go to church, and I don't know why, guys. It's so hard to go to church. Like, you just fall into this pattern where I realized that there was a particular year, maybe we went to church 3 or 4 times. I was like, no, this is not what I want for my kids. And like I told my husband, I said, as an adult, my salvation is in my hands. Your salvation is in your hands. God is not going to ask me on Judgment Day that, where is your husband's salvation? I said, no, God didn't put me in charge of adults. For my children, the seeds that God has given me, He's going to ask me, these are the children I asked you to shepherd. What did you do with them? So this year we are trying. I found a church that they really like. If you're in Edmonton, you can go to the Redeemed Church, Rema Chapel. Shout out to Rema Chapel. The children's church is phenomenal. My kids really like it. We were going to another church before, but they didn't really like the children's church. I found that they used to be so sluggish. They didn't want to go to church. But now, in fact, guys, just last week Sunday, my son barged into our room at 6:30. Wake up, mommy, daddy! It's church day. That's how my kids are. On Saturday night, if you want to get them to go to bed, just say, this church tomorrow. If you don't go to bed, we're not going to church. Pum! Everybody's in bed. I love it so much. So it just also shows that they're enjoying it. And that's something that I want to continue to do. And I pray to God for strength. So morning devotion, teaching them to read the Bible, one verse, two verses, and all that. Another thing that I also did was I bought Bible for my son. His grandma also sent me Bible. So he's got two now. One that has like a study devotional, teenage-ish, and then the other one is that children's Bible that has like a nice picture of like a Bible story in front. So yeah, morning devotions are not missing church service. That's my next point. This point actually ties into what I said about walking the talk, and it is teaching your kids contentment. I didn't even I didn't even know that not being content was something that people dealt with until I became an adult. And I say adolescent. I remember when I was in Yaba Tech, all that. I remember that, some of my friends used to accuse me of, oh, you're not fashionable, blah, blah, blah. But it wasn't about that. It was about the fact that, okay, if I have 10 naira and I'm going to feed myself with 5 naira, I will keep my remaining 5 naira. I'm not going to go use it to get into debt with the woman that is selling shoes or bags or gold or whatever. No, I think my parents have a great impact in that, because it's not just me. My sister is that way as well. My brothers are that way as well, to a certain extent. At least they are growing up, so they are still forming into men. But from what I can see, they are also that way. Like, we are content, and it is from my parents. My dad would my dad worked for drug law enforcement in Nigeria, and like, he used to constantly say that a good name is better than silver and gold. And if you grew up in Nigeria and understand working in all those enforcement agencies, you understand what that means, right? And so we didn't grow up affluent and blah blah blah. While a lot of his colleagues were that, my dad always believed in contentment. Let what you have be enough for you while you're striving to be better. So not just being lax or taking it for granted that you're going to be better. You're going to be better. But where you are right now, let it be enough for you. So the gratitude, the contentment. My mom also, I remember growing up, and my mom grew up in an affluent background. So when she was growing up, she had a lot of cousins and everything who, whenever they are doing parties, if you hear the amount of the ashwebis they used to call. And my mom would just take whatever she has in her wardrobe and she would just wear it. And I remember that she used to say, in the future, when our children are grown, she'll wear whatever she wants. In fact, she has a cousin that would say, oh, no, 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 you can't wear this. This is what you have to wear. And she would bring her like lace from her wardrobe and all that, because she had a richer spouse or whatever. And growing up, I think it's watching them walk the talk, like I said, impacted us more than whatever it is that they wanted to say to us. So we grew up watching our parents being content while striving to be better. And it's impacted us. So I try to teach my kids that as well. Like, what you have right now should be enough for you. Yes, you will be better. Yes, we want to have more. We're working to have more. But where we are right now, we need to be grateful. We need to be content. So yeah, contentment is something that I really wish that I can teach my children. Another thing that I want to teach my children, I picked this from my dad, is raising a confident child. Now, where we were going, it's easy in this environment, so you want to raise a confident child, blah, blah, blah. But there's a thin line between raising a spoiled child and raising a confident child. You know, when I was growing up, a lot of people thought I was spoiled. I might have been spoiled actually, because in our generation, a child that was vocal was a spoiled child. If you knew how to defend yourself and speak out for yourself, you were spoiled. So I guess by that definition, everybody's spoiled. Like I always tell one of my friends, I say everybody's child is spoiled. It depends on the angle. So the things that are no-nos to me might be yes, yes to your own parents. And when your parents see my own children, they'll be like, oh, those children are spoiled, and your children will also look spoiled to me. So yeah, everybody's child is spoiled. It's a matter of perception. So yeah, back to what I was saying. Um, I am really striving to be able to raise confident children. I want my children to be able to speak for themselves without fear of recrimination or fear of anybody putting them down, while still being polite, while still like be able to pass across your points without being mean, without being rude, without yelling. And like I always tell my son, we don't talk to each other that way in this house. If people in your class talk to each other that way, that's not the right way. You pass your point across without being rude, without being mean, without yelling, without. So yeah, raising confident children. I have a backstory on this one. I remember when I first got married and I had a lot of, issues going around in-law matters and all that. And I was very confused as to how to act. I remember that there was advice left, right, and center. There was, oh my God, the advice kept pouring in, and I was a little bit confused. And then I remember calling my dad one day and telling him about a certain situation that had happened. And what did my dad say to me? He just said, I didn't raise you to cower before anybody. Guys, it is parents are it is important as parents for us to be able to reach our children properly. And so my dad just said, I didn't raise you to cower before anybody. I raised you to be confident. I raised you to speak for yourself without being rude. And I want you to do that. If someone says something to you that you think that they shouldn't say to you, you tell them, with all due respect, please don't talk to me that way. And guys, it was like somebody, it was like somebody put pillars in my back. I stood straight. I stood straight and I spoke up for myself, and it was beautiful. And I don't think that if I didn't have that conversation with my dad, I wouldn't have been able to put my foot on the ground like that. And my mom as well, like she would talk to me and she'd be like, raising you has taught me that you're not scared of anything. This is the time for you to remember who you are. And guys, like I said, I should be gifting my parents. I should just wake up in the morning. I should just send them something. I should just say, Mommy, Daddy, you are phenomenal. Because really they are phenomenal, right? Um Another thing that I grew up, this is not like I haven't been able to pick the point, right? But this is just something that I grew up to realize is that it is not it is I'm grateful to God that I had my parents growing up. There are a lot of things that I learned from them. My dad is a stand-up guy. I grew up to realize that a lot of men are not stand-up people. I thought it was normal. I thought this was how men should be, right? Color me surprised. When I became an adolescent and people were talking about how their dads never show up and how their dads are never there for them and how their dads. I mean, my dad used to bring me food in Yabatek. Dad used to come and visit me Yabatek. Stuff like that. So yeah, I mean that's off the point. But I just in relating to what I said earlier about how growing up I realized that my parents were actually very different from other people's parents, and I really appreciate them for that. So, on the things that I said I would like to do better as a parent that my parents did, I think yelling. Oh, my mom was Chief Yeller. Chief Yeller. So I picked that up from her. So I yell at my kids. I'm recuperating. I am a something something anonymous. Yellers anonymous, if there's anything like that. So now sometimes when I'm talking to my kids, I even tell them, I'm like, if I'm yelling at you guys, I want you guys to tell me, Mommy, you're yelling. So my son, trust him, Mommy, you're yelling. Sometimes I'm like, but sometimes when I want to yell, I'm just like, calm, 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 calm. And so I am recuperating, or I am recovering yeller. That's something I'm really trying to do. But children will frustrate you. My God, I don't know how people don't yell at their kids. I'm just like, yeah, that is one thing that I'm trying to do better as a parent. And of course, there's the Glasgows. So fun fact, in my almost 40 years of existence, I cannot remember my dad spanking me once. I think I was like 4 or 5 or something. And it was not anything serious, but I think I remember him doing that. And after that, nothing. So that's another thing I would like to pick up from my dad, not my mom, because not yelling at my kids, no corporal punishments. When I say no corporal punishments, I mean no smacking. But we are doing kneel down, raise up your hand, face the wall, all those type of stuff. Because sometimes when you're climbing up the stairs and your thighs hurt, they hurt more than anybody yelling or smacking. So yeah, we're trying other ways. Those are some of the things I'm trying to do to be better. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I would like to say a happy Children's Day to all of us that still have our parents. And for those of you that don't have your parents, I wish your kids happy Children's Day. And I hope that this video will help you to introspect a little bit of introspection. Every time I make videos, I hope that I impact someone to think about something that they can change in the way that they do whatever it is I'm talking about. So in this case, in the way that you're raising your kids, how you want to do better with it, how you're either modeling your parents if that's something you actually want to do, or you are trying to do better, because we all know what our parents were when we were growing up and how it impacted us as adults. Happy Children's Day. I would also like to say thank you, mommy. Thank you, daddy. Thank you for the work that you did in raising me and raising my siblings. I'm deeply grateful to you. And I hope and pray that I am the parent that you are and more, because we always pray for our children to be better than us. And I hope and pray also that when my children grow up, they will be able to say of me, as I say of you, that you did a great job. Happy Children's Day, and happy Children's Day to everyone. And even if you're not in Nigeria, happy Children's Day to you as well. May 27th is Children's Day, so happy Children's Day. Bye, guys. Oh, yeah, before I go, please remember to watch, remember to subscribe, remember to share this video, and remember to like and comment. And if there's anything that you feel that your parents did right, that you realize as an adult, I want you to share with us in the comment section. Because I mean, it takes a community to raise kids, and I'm always picking up tips and tricks on how to raise my children as well. Thank you, guys. I'm very grateful for your time. I'll see you in the next video.